Welcome back to the Truvix Podcast, where we talk growth, leadership, and building businesses that last. Today's guest is someone who represents legacy in a real way. William Matthews is the Vice President of Investor Relations at The Property Store, a Houston-based, family-owned boutique real estate company that's been around for nearly 40 years. That's right, 40 years. He's a third-generation real estate professional. His grandfather was buying property when that wasn't common. His parents are brokers, and he got his real estate license before he stepped foot on a college campus. Today, we're talking about what it means to step into a family business, modernize it, and have tough conversations when the boss is your mother. William, welcome to the...
Thank you. Love the intro. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
All right, great. Now let's start from the beginning. All right, William, like I mentioned, you got your real estate license right after high school. Did you know then this would be your path, or were you fighting it?
Fighting it. Kicking, screaming, fighting, screaming. I saw the sleepless nights, the inconsistent income, the working on weekends, I saw all of the bad that came with entrepreneurship and primarily in real estate. And for many years, I was like, I don't want any part of that. I want to go off, get a job where I get a direct deposit every 14. I do not want that 100% commission life. And then also I just realized that when we would go on vacations and take trips that parents were always working, always being on call. Because when you're in a sales role, there's no such thing as a 9 to 5 o'clock, I check out. And oftentimes your clients don't become available to the evening hours or to the weekend hours. So just seeing that, I wanted no parts of it. So I joined Kicking and Screaming. And now one of the things which I'm sure we'll dive into today is that I'm establishing healthy boundaries and doing it the way that I want to do it. And what generations before me and the way that my parents did it, that might have worked for them, but I am a millennial. So we believe in work-home life balance. And I'm doing things very, very different. And those weren't conversations that I was having when I watched my parents do this type of work. So to answer your question, long-winded way of stating, no, I did not want to do this whatsoever. I didn't care that grandpa, mom, aunts, uncles did it. I wanted no part of the family business.
What does selling houses at 19 teach you that most people don't learn until much later?
Customer service, accountability, reliability. And the biggest thing I want your listeners and folks that are watching to pay attention to, because this is something that I stress to my mentees, is relationship building. You know, at the end of the day, sales, people do business with people that they like. So whether you're selling houses, cars, you are a development officer for a nonprofit or a hospital or whatever it is, people do business with people that they like. So the idea of relationship building and being consistent and aspect of customer service, learning that at 19 and 20 years old, that really projected me, I feel, to be successful in my career. Even when I did work for someone else I was getting that direct deposit check, I still learned those fundamentals of customer service, reliability, and how relationships can open up doors for you that no university, no degree, no certification can take you places that those can't.
You mentioned you went to corporate before coming back into real estate. So what did the corporate America teach you that real estate didn't?
How to play well with others, working in teams, deadlines, projects, and a little bit that you deal with that in the real estate world because everything is really time sensitive. But I would say the biggest thing that corporate America taught was how to play well with others and how to play the game. And the rules will constantly change in the game. And if you are not the referee, or if you're not the coach, you have to be adaptable to those changes and how to bite your tongue. I've also learned in my experience with corporate America of being the only one that looks like me in a room. and oftentimes trying to fight for a seat at the table. It's interesting that I just left a luncheon today with a room full of leaders. And one of the keynote speakers said that if they don't have a seat for you at the table, you bring a folding chair. I believe this is a quote from Shirley Chisholm. And I think that resonates with corporate America, definitely my experience. Oftentimes I was in my industry, I was the youngest person, the only person of color, and I stood out. And I did feel uncomfortable at times, but as you grow and you evolve and you get some really strong mentors, you just get more comfortable in your skin and you kind of feel, wait, I belong in this room. There's a reason why I'm here. And another thing that I strive and I teach my mentees is speak up. Even if your voice is quivering, it's shaking, raise your hand, speak up and say something, because you never know how that is impactful for the person coming behind you, and how also that level of respect and that recognition that you're going to receive. So it all becomes with just evolution and practice.
Okay, so yeah, corporate world taught you a lot. It does teach you a lot. So let's talk about stepping from the corporate back into the family business. Family dynamics. What was the hardest part about transitioning from son to business partner?
And for my parents, this is their baby. They started this in 1987. So next year it'll be 40 years. And this is their other child. And so here I come and trying to change things and work with them. And for them, their systems work. And I'm a firm believer. Again, I'm a millennial, so I'm about working smarter, not harder. Why aren't we implementing this software? Why don't we use this technology? Why don't we do it this way? And so there was a lot of butting heads, and we still do. I was recently doing an interview with someone else, and they said, how do you manage conflict, or how do you deal with conflict? And I said, I work in a family business. We deal with conflict every day. And also learning proper boundaries of, I don't want to talk about work on the weekends and in the evenings. So if you want to call me, I'm your son. And we can talk about family, life, politics, religion, love. But I don't want to talk about deals, transactions, finances, spreadsheets. I don't want to talk about that at 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon. So establishing those boundaries have been really hard, and it's taken years to get that. They finally, I think 2025, they finally got it. And we now joke about it, but that was tough. That was tough because your parents will always look at you as their baby, their little boy, their little boy, their little girl. I changed your diapers, or I did that. And now you're running a budget. You're dealing with big money, finances, important clients, VIP, and you have to realize that oftentimes when this little boy who you help raise is saying something or giving a recommendation, you have to think strongly about it before you just sometimes say no, or to say, well, I've never done it like that, or I didn't do it like that in the past. Hear me out first before you respond. And that took a while to get there. So it's had a lot of challenges, but it's also been very rewarding, and especially within our community. I'll just end by stating that it's so rare for people of color to have that generational wealth, family to have businesses and be able to leave it for the next generation. And even though I was kicking and screaming, at the end of the day, I'm so appreciative of it. And so many of my friends saying, what a beautiful thing that your parents have set you up. That is true generational wealth. So I'm always open for the opportunities when I get platforms to speak about that, because it is so uncommon in our community and within our culture.
That is true. So you mentioned in 2025 is the trust. So when did you start? What year did you start in the family business?
Yeah, so it's funny with me. I've always been in it. I've had my toes in the water, and I dipped in and out because I've always had my license. For about 5 to 7 years, I did put it inactive because I was doing work, and I wanted the work that I was doing, it was a bit of a conflict of interest. So I just showed the powers that be, the direct deposit individuals, that I'm going to put my license in inactive status, just so you know that there's no conflict of interest. But other than that time frame, I've always had it. So I got more involved in the day-to-day. When my mom was having some health issues, she had to have some knee surgeries, and I had to kind of step in. And if she watches this, she's gonna laugh or probably roll her eyes. But we joke about it now, but she thought that she was gonna be able to bounce back. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a little surgery. I'll be down for about 3 days, and I'm gonna be able to spruce back up. And I'm thinking, What world are you living in? It doesn't work like that. But the ego, I say. So anyway, that did not happen. And I had to really step in to really run the day to day of the business. This was during the COVID days. And that's when I got involved and really got underneath the hood of the car. And I saw partially, how is this car still even running? I got in and I saw a lot. So I got into it in a way of the day to day, meaning I was kind of, my hands got tied behind my back. I was caught up against the wall, I kind of had to. And then once I got in it, I said, oh, okay, bring my tools and the things that I've learned in school, corporate America, boards, committees, my financial background. Those are my toolbox. We got to do some work and we got to do some digging. And that's when I really got in. So I would say that was around 4 or 5 years ago, got in, and now definitely more involved where I'm the true partner, almost the go-to person for literally about 85% of everything.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So it took about 3 or 4 years before the trust came, because it is their babies.
Yeah, it's their baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know with the family dynamic, when we talked before, you mentioned sometimes having to say no. We're not talking about this over the weekend. We're not talking about this over the evening. So how do you protect the business without damaging that relationship?
It's a good question. Proper communication and boundaries. I'm really, really, really big on that. And letting other people, it goes back to, and this is within friendships, romantic relationships, parents, you teach people how to treat you. Simple as that. You tolerate what you want to tolerate and the stuff that you don't. It's a little bit different because you are dealing with parents. And so having to tell them no, or I'm not doing this, it's met with a little bit more love. In the beginning, I'm sure with a little bit more resistance. Even my voice was quivering, but now I say it with my whole chest. And over time, we've learned, especially over the past few years, it's always the statement that no is a complete sentence. It's not a comma, it's a period. I don't owe an explanation. It's a no. Now, with certain things, I am very respectful to say I do give context to why this is a no, or why I don't want to discuss this, or why this should be the final decision. Because due to the fact that this is your baby, and I am coming in, late to the party as in the pool. Because like I said, I was dipping my toes in and out for years, but now I am in the pool swimming. So understanding that just takes a while for people to warm up and get used to. But for me, a lot of it just comes with doing the mental work, being emotionally intelligent and mature, and realizing that I have to protect my mental peace. A lot of decisions that we do, it's nothing personal. It is business. And even getting the clients to understand that. And these are clients that we've had that possibly have been working with the parents for 10, 12, 15 years. And then here I come after year 2 or 3, I'm implementing new policies and new procedures, and we're not going to do that anymore. We are going to give you a courtesy notice that within, the next 60 days, this policy is going to effect. And having to stay firm that sometimes when these clients are calling the CEO, aka mom or dad, and then I'm sticking firm to, no, this is why we made this decision. So either they can get on board or they can exit. At the end of the day, we're running a business here. This isn't friendships. This isn't, it's nothing personal. And we have to understand that all money isn't good money, and we got to know when to walk away from things. And I think especially from a baby boomer generation, and also from an entrepreneur that's had a business for so long, it's just like you don't turn down any business. No, because I live with, this is not in alignment with what I'm doing and what our goals are. This where we're trying to go, and I'm not going to work so hard. For example, I'll just say, and some may look at this like, oh, wow, this is cockiness. No, you just kind of know your worth and you know your value. I'm not going to be jumping over hurdles and doing black flips for something, and just for example, for $10. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to increase this, and there's going to be new policy put in forth with it. And if they don't want to do it, we can send them a few referrals. No bad blood. It's just, it doesn't make sense for us. And so having that mindset is That has been met with some challenges, but now it feels so good that we're on the same page when we have to have those discussions. And I'm thinking like, wow, patience and prayer really, really works, because just the progress that we've been able to make when it came to a tough discussion like that 3 to 4 years ago, you would have thought that I was trying to present something on the Congress floor in Washington, D.C., you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. With the what you're doing, you're bringing technology into the business. Okay, so before you stepped in, what was missing in the terms of systems and technology?
There were none. It was very much, and again, I'm being mindful because family will watch this, I'm sure. But it's all things that I've told them, you know. We can laugh about it now in 2026, but that was the thing. When I lifted the hood of the car and I started looking at it like, how in the world is the car still starting? How is this even functioning? It's just amazing. It goes back. And I think a lot of it, I've learned, Marcus, over time, it's just generational difference. And it just comes from the mindset of they just look at it, if it ain't broke, don't break it. This has been working for me. And I'm in agreement with that to an extent. But again, it goes back to me. I'm about working smarter, not harder. And a lot of the systems that we had in place, it was like 1997 way of doing things. I'm thinking that we in the 21st century, because mind you, this was 2021, 2022. And I'm thinking, we doing what? We're accepting payments. How? Huh? What? So to your point, bringing in technology, bringing in the software, and then, oftentimes when you do that, there's an expense that the company isn't used to paying for. And that was one of the biggest resistance of, we don't have to pay this bill every month. Yep, we do. But I'm also going to show you how we're going to tie it back into the clients paying for it. But just everything from our accounting software now to filing proper tax documents. We're dealing with a ton of investors, and at the beginning of every year, since we are approaching tax season, we're sending them, the 1099s, which is grueling, but we have to protect us. And it's coming from a place of, we have to protect our business. And so we are going to start implementing things, whether these people like this or not. I want to give an example without being too detailed, but even as a way of how commissions are paid with agents. I mean, that was another thing that I recently saw, like, no, we can't do this way. This is a bad accounting no. This is the way that we're going to have to do this. And those are tough conversations. Again, here I am having those conversations with the CEO, and they're having to share that with members of the team, where there's going to be a new policy implemented, and here's why. It's tough, but having those tough conversations and standing your ground with it, because at the end of the day, you're protecting the legacy.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. And so, yeah, you just mentioned, that was actually going to be one of my questions, the resistance that you face introducing software, AI, and automation. You mentioned expenses. So you guys manage, William, investors from mostly California and New York, correct?
In Texas. A large portion in Texas, but a lot of our investors on the East and West Coast. Correct.
Okay. Now, how important is it, communication, reporting, and efficiency, especially with those out-of-state landlords?
It's important. One of the things surprising to me is that a lot of these investors that we have and that we work with, they don't even really want to have that much communication with us, surprisingly. And even when there's a problem, that's when the trust factor comes in, where they trust us to handle it. A lot of our clients, we have a threshold that, let's just say, any expense over $5,000, of course, we need to contact them or something. But otherwise, we just get things done. And it goes back to how to operate and how to use technology and do things. One of the ways that my parents were sending out monthly reports, they were sending a lot of attachments and paperwork and monthly. And when I came in, I'm like, these people, they don't care about all these pages. All they want to know, did the direct deposit hit into their bank account, and show them any expenses that were that month. So at minimum, all you need to be sending is a page and a half. You send in 7 pages, copy of the bank deposit, copy of how the tenants paid, copy. They don't care.
They're not gonna look at that.
They're not. And the time that you're putting into this, I know you mean well with it, but if you stop, they are not going to miss it, because what I have learned, and I learned very early on, the only thing they care about is what day the direct deposit hit my bank account from the tenant paying the rent of the property that you manage for me. Because these are busy people. We're on different time zones. Some travel a lot out the country. They don't care about any of that. So one of the things that we try to implement is making sure that we honor a date on our calendar, which is around about the 10th of each month, making sure that all of the documents have been emailed and sent. But one of the questions you had was communication with not only clients, but with tenants. I mean, because they're essentially all our clients. Communication is important. But one of the things that we try to tell them early on is that this is a business that we run here. So our office hours are from 8 to 5. And if you need to contact us after hours, that is fine. But there's a way to do it. And we have them going through our tenant portal where they log in and they do like a maintenance request and things of that nature. A few years ago, before I came to the picture, how were they doing maintenance requests? They would text mom and dad on their cell phone like, hey, this needs to be fixed on their personal cell phone. So now I'm coming in like, no. Everything needs to be done through a portal. Tenants do not have our cell phone numbers. They don't need it. And people might be saying, well, what about when there's an emergency? Clearly, when there is a hot water heater or the AC is not working, because we are in Texas, there are emergencies and we do have methods of communication. But this goes back to the boundaries and just doing things very different. We're running a business here, so you're not contacting me at 11:30 on a Sunday morning telling me that, you got 2 pickets from your fence out back that are missing. Well, first of all, nothing I can do about it on a Sunday morning, and take the photo, put it in the portal, and we'll get our handy guy to work on it within, 5 to 7 business days, because this is not a life-altering situation. But just establishing the clear lines of communication early on and the clear boundaries, not only with the landlords, but with also the tenants, and implementing those policies and sticking firm to that. And so you very well may contact us. Let's just say you're going to send me an email on Friday night at 9:00. And the email could just be something as minute as, I don't know, the water filter in your refrigerator needs to be changed. I'm not responding to that on a Friday night, And no different than when I travel, because I do travel. As I was sharing with you, I just returned into the country. We have a system now in place where team members and office assistants, they're running everything in our absence, because we have trusted, knowledgeable team members that can run things. So this goes back to the comment that I made very early on. So now when I'm on vacation, I get to enjoy vacation. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a phone that I'm constantly looking at and doing things. I get to thoroughly enjoy vacation because I know that my team is handling things, and that makes me feel really proud of the work that we do.
All right, good deal. And I see you referenced the 5 heartbeats. Office hours are 9 to 5.
And even that goes to the parents, the CEOs. Sometimes when they call on me and I'm like, it's 6:15, so I answer the phone. Marcus like, and just tell me which way we going. Is this the sun hat, or is this the VP? Is this the VP? And sometimes, just depending on what it is, I will have that conversation at 6 p.m. As I'm preparing my dinner or getting ready to unwind, but I'm also being very short, and they're knowing that, like, okay, we got to wrap this up, because I'm like, yeah, this essentially, this could wait. This could wait, because I look at it, Marcus, is no different than having that corporate job and your boss calling you at 4 p.m. on a Saturday when you're at the soccer game watching your kid play or at your daughter's dance recital. Would you be answering that call? Now, granted, I want listeners and everyone to be aware that we know that there's high and peak season. So sometimes that's okay, but that's not the norm. That's not the norm. So I look at it as the same way. It's 4 p.m. on a Saturday, and what you're calling or texting me about, this can wait till Monday. And so even when I get those calls and we're talking about just regular things, and then the conversation starts to shift, I'm like, I'm not doing that. So if this is all the love and life conversation that we're having, then I'm going to end the conversation, because now this is drifting towards work, because you're talking about spreadsheets, invoices, vendors. Did such and such get paid? I don't want to talk about that. It's 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Now, granted, again, there's some seasons, like right now, we're in tax season, and let's just say there's a deadline. We had that January 30, 31st deadline to send all our tax out. So if you want to contact me on the day before that deadline saying, hey, I just want to make sure that Miss Donaldson, did she get her 1099? Did we email it? Absolutely. Because that's a deadline you got to honor. No different than it having that corporate job. But for the most part, boundaries, man, boundaries. And that is the word of the year. Boundaries, discernment, and alignment. Those are my 3 key words. And I wake up every day stating those words. So I start my day and I end my day with boundaries, discernment, and alignment. And I break that down to there's the boundaries. I have to have healthy boundaries of things. And again, for personal, professional relationships. And you kind of have to, when you're driving in a car, those lanes are those lines are there for a reason, for you to stay in your lane. And so I'm really big on not crossing the line on certain things. And then also for discernment, what are you feeling that's telling you like, this isn't right, I shouldn't do this, I should do that. That inner voice, the universe, God, whoever you pray to or talk to or meditate to, but that discernment. And oftentimes we ignore it, even with our body, when something doesn't feel right and we know we need to go to the doctor, or we know we need to rest. That's discernment, listening to that. And then lastly, alignment. Anything that is not aligned with what I should be doing. And with that, I'll just close with, there's a quote that I live by that is, what's for me will meet me. And that's my definition of alignment.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. That is powerful. It really is.
Yeah, I live by that. Thank you.
Yeah, very powerful. So let me ask you this, William. If you could automate 3 things inside your business tomorrow, what would they be?
Automate 3 things. One, I would say us updating a lot of our accounting paperwork, IRS type stuff. I won't go into too much detail about it, but updating that. And then number 2, as it relates, it's a good segue also into accounting, making sure that we do quarterly audits on our books. And that's something that I'm trying to implement. But again, I'm all about baby steps. And, just do the breadcrumbs before you try to bake all the bread, That would be number 2. Number 3, we have 2 dynamic team members that the goal for them is to get their license. So not only for them getting their real estate license, but also for me getting my broker's license. So there's a bit of certification process and licensing there that we would like to get implemented. And so those are some of the goals and things. So if I had like a little magic wand, those would be the 3 things that I would say right now. Actually, they're all in process and pending.
So you mentioned when tenant needs to communicate a hot water heater, or you need to communicate with tenants. Is that, or some of those things still feel like it's manual, including the owner reporting or lead follow-up areas?
Yeah, I would say so, but it's no different than when you go in and pay a bill. And you may have a bill set up on auto pay, but you may just want to log into the account to see. That's no different, because at the end of the day, we are still running a business, and you don't want to completely put everything in technology. We do utilize AI, which is also something that I'm happy that the baby boomers now have picked up on. That has been a game changer, especially it relates to, for an example, there was a winter freeze, even in Texas. Yes, we do have winter freezes, and sending out a mass notice to the tenants of weatherizing your homes, people, pets, plants, being able to send that out. And we did it in 2 ways. There was an email that went out to everyone, but we understand everyone doesn't check their email 15 times a day like we do. So we also sent the text message. With that, it was just easily being able to go to AI saying, hey, there's a winter storm coming. We want to inform our tenants of some things that they should be aware of or how to do. And we got to present it with care, because at the end of the day, we know that they don't own the property, and, tenants do not treat properties the way that an owner would. But it was important for us to send that notification out. And I will say I was doing so much that it was very helpful for me to being able to knock out such a major announcement by utilizing AI, with that. And those are just some of the ways that we do it. And for another example, it could be we got to send a notice out to all our landlords about some accounting something that our CPA, we just get to go in there, type it up, maybe personalize it a little bit, and bam, done. So again, working smarter, not harder. So to your initial question of even having the portal that we utilize, does it still make it manual labor? Yes and no. I think you got to utilize technology to your benefit, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And I don't want to solely just rely on it for everything. I still want to get in there and review things. Same way I just use metaphorically. I'm okay with auto pay, but I'm the type of person, I'm still finna log in that account because I want to see the actual statement and I want to make sure, like, oh, you charging me now a technology fee for $19.99 a month. If I didn't log in, I wouldn't have even known that. And so I'm actually dealing with that situation right now where they're charging me this fee all of a sudden, and that was implemented come February the 1st. Well, I contacted our vendor and I'm stating no announcement was made. You didn't send anything out. And I don't know how I feel about paying this additional fee every month. I mean, all of us around the world, but definitely here in America, we are trying to hold on to as much money as we possibly can because everything is just leaving. Everything is costing more. Everything is so expensive. And so still trying to run your business the way you would your personal dynamics. So I think it's very important to stay on top of things, log on and look at stuff, and even question what your CPA is doing. Question your vendors. It's not what you say, but how you say it. But I'm a firm person that, like, no, I'm going to read the fine print. I'm going to look at everything. And that to me is how you run a successful business that is sustainable. Because at the end of the day, for me here, I have a legacy I'm trying to maintain. So much so that my business that I named for my business ventures, the Soder's Legacy Group, it's a legacy that I'm continuing that started all the way back in the 50s and the 60s with my grandfather, who was unheard of at the time for, a black man to be buying real estate in Texas. Now, granted, my grandfather looked white, but that's a whole nother conversation we'll have for another date and time. But it's still monumental to me to be able to carry on that legacy.
All right. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, from being from Texas.
Yeah.
Definitely understand that. So let's talk about the strategic shift. When we talked before, you mentioned conferences, all right? You had a strategic shift on conferences. At one point, everybody was going on your team to each conference instead of sending one person. What made you think that way?
Great question. Strategic. Watching the money, watching the budget, giving some context for those who are not aware. So everyone in the office would attend all these real estate conferences, and it would be a national conference, a regional, a local, and it's just everyone in the office is going to this same conference. We all get the same information. Why not spread this? Why don't you go to the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is the Black organization for real estate professionals, which was started back 70, 80 years ago when Black Americans could not join the national organization. So always some context and history there with that. And then there is the National Association of Realtors, which is the standard. So I'm thinking, okay, all of us, I don't necessarily want to go to a real estate conference because you going, y'all going to come back and be talking about it for weeks. How about I find something else to go to? What about if I go to the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C. that's held every September? And I had, quite a few friends and colleagues that would go every year. And when they would come back, the way they would talk about it, I would think, man, I need to attend that. And so I went one year, Marcus, and I say, man, this is a game changer. I want to go to this every year because what I love about it is that it covers housing, health, mental health, financial literacy, the politics, civic engagement, what's happening. It encompasses so much. And so this is just one example of find something that you want to go to that's a sense of professional development and networking, but you don't necessarily need to do what's always been done. We're running things and doing things very unconventional these days. And so it just didn't make sense to me to spend $6,000-$7,000 to send everyone to the same conference. And if you really want to go, cool. But how about you find something else that falls in line with the work that we're doing? And it could be something on as unique as customer service. I mean, we all know this conference is out there for everything. Or how about you go to a conference on technology? You know, one of the things that I'm proud of here in Houston is that we host the Afrotech conference or national convention every summer. At least we have it for the next 2 to 3 years. But that's something that I would love a member of the team to go to. Go to that. And I'm not only saying it just because it's local, but let's just say that if it was in Chicago or if it was in Denver, go to that, because that could be another form you're going to learn technology, great networking tools that you could utilize, something, a sense of technology that we don't even have or we didn't even think about, that you will learn from going to that conference. So it's just all about, it doesn't necessarily need to be a Black organization. I just gave those 2 examples because that was on my mind, but just finding something that's outside the box versus all of us loading the bus, going to the same thing. That just didn't make sense to me. And so my thing, everyone in the office knows, September, William's going to the Congressional Black Caucus. Because I get to rub elbows with some politicians, celebrities. It's business during the day, and then it's party at night. And the best way I can explain it is it's the political essence festival.
So you guys are almost 40 years in the company, 39, be 40 years next year. What does the next 5 to 10 years look like?
Technology driven, also very strategic in the accounts that we do take on. And building the team, but yet still remaining very boutique. Because getting some new blood, some new energy, is you're realizing that there is a wave of retirement that's getting ready to happen that's going to impact us. So what does our succession plan look like? And it goes back to me stating earlier, there are couple of members wanting to make sure that they have their licensing, they get the proper training. And it's okay if they do this part-time, until when they're ready to come on board. But what I love, the biggest aspect for me is that having reliable people when I need to go away and recharge, having that's important to me. And so for the next 5 years, that's what it looks like. And being able to run this company from anywhere in the world, one of the beautiful things is that it is a virtual thing. We closed down our office many years ago. We were forced to at the time because we had a lot of damage from a hurricane. And then it was just thinking, we don't really need an office. So we got on with the whole work from home virtual thing way before COVID even came. And what I love is being able to do this from anywhere in the world. As long as I have, some boots on the ground people, a strong Wi-Fi, and I'm still present and available for the clients, I can do this under a palm tree sitting on the beach, But that goes back to doing things very differently, because I'll tell you a funny story real quick that before, let's just say 5 years ago, rent was being collected a very old school way. Tenants were doing money orders and they were dropping them off to our office. And that was just 5 years ago. And so when I came, I'm thinking, no, no. Technology is our friend. And so that alleviates us having to have some type of physical office presence, because now everything is done through technology. That's just one of many examples, but for the sake of time, that's just one. And being able to do this anywhere in the world, anywhere, that's the goal.
Okay. All right, William, now it's time to have some fun.
Okay.
So I always like to do at the end a 6-question fire round. All right, and I might add one.
Okay.
All right, number 1, the first one, best place to eat in Houston. That's a hard one.
Do you realize we like the food capital of the Southwest?
I know it's a hard one.
Jeez. I'm going to give you 2. My favorite restaurant here is actually, I'm a healthy eater. I'm a pescatarian, so I don't even eat meat. And yes, I do not eat barbecue. But I like local foods. It's a restaurant. Everything is like fresh, healthy. It's really good. And just give it a try. So local foods. Here are my 4 locations here. But since I am in Texas, and if I did eat barbecue based on where I bring visitors when they visit town. I take them to Ray's Barbecue on OST, Old Spanish Trail, kind of in the Tray, Third Ward area. And Ray also has really good fish, so I am able to eat their fish. But so those would be the two. But local foods, don't sleep on it. It's by far my favorite.
Okay. All right. Number two, residential or commercial, if you had to pick one forever.
Residential. It's more personal to me. The commercial deals take way too long. I mean, the check is nice when you finally do get the check, but it just reminds me too much of the cutthroat corporate world. And I like the idea of the residential. I seem to sleep better at night versus with commercial. It's so much at stake, and you're dealing with so many moving parts. It's almost as if, like, who would want to be a wedding planner dealing with bridezillas every day? Not me. So I look at commercial, and one could say with residential, you're dealing with all the personal emotions. True, but I did work with the commercial industry for quite a few years, and one of the things, though, I would love to see with commercial have more diversity over the next 5 to 10 years, because it is still very much an old white male world dominated world, and you don't even find that many women in it. So that's something that I hope would change, but residential for me all day.
Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird. But I'm an early bird who's not a morning person. But I get up every morning at 5 a.m. I go work out. I start my day. It's the best way. And again, I'm a person, I don't even wash my face. I just put on a cap and I go. But I get so much energy, and it just opens my mind and sets the tone for the day. With that being stated, I go to bed very early. So thinking about after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, somebody texting me about work, I'm almost getting ready to wind down, because I will tell you, Marcus, around about 8 o'clock, my body is shutting down and forcing it, even if I don't want to. My body is saying, I'm tired, and we got to do this all over again tomorrow. You've given everything to everyone and everything. Now it's your time. And so, again, taking it back to boundaries, that can wait till tomorrow. I'm going to bed. And so much so that I have an alert on my phone every night that tells me at a certain time it's time to start winding down for bed. So whether I want to or not, I have those constant reminders. Even setting my home at nighttime, dimming all the lights. And it's the light, the mood, the setting, because I'm psyching my mind and just getting everything ready that the day is coming to an end. So it's all psychological, really, at the end of the day. And I'm not one of them people to stay up to midnight, 1 o'clock, watching TV, gaming, reading, or talking on the phone. Everyone knows by 9 o'clock I'm in bed.
Okay, yeah, I got an alarm on my phone to say go to sleep.
You've done all you can.
It's on my calendar.
You've done all you can, and tomorrow's another day, and you've given so much. And that, to me, is the mental state that you've given so much today. Now it's time to give to you.
So, William, if you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
Hosting my own travel show on CNN or a cable show or Bravo or BET or Tubi. I don't know, but I love to travel. And it's always been my dream to host my own travel show. One of the things I love about travel is being able to go to another country or continent and learn just the culture and the people and hear their accents and their language and try their food and learn their history. I guess it now makes sense why I got an A in high school in geography, because I learned about it, and now being able to go to all these different places, I absolutely love it. I enjoy solo travel. It's one of my favorites. To me, it's very cathartic, and I come back rejuvenated. And I also enjoy traveling because so much stuff we take for granted until you realize that you really do have it good. Now, I will say that upon my most recent travels, I do feel that us here in the United States of America, we are being ripped off in a lot of ways. But again, I'm trying to turn this conversation left. We'll say that for another episode at another time. But it's just the joys of traveling. You learn so much about other people, the world, and yourself. And being able to see it up close and personal, it far surpasses what you can read about in a book or seeing online through Google. So I love the travel. So I would love to host a travel show and utilize my very unique, outgoing personality and being able to resonate with an audience, hoping the same way that I'm resonating with people that are listening or watching this. You kind of feel what I'm saying, feel what I'm talking about. Imagine getting that visual aspect of me being in a country and being with the locals and tasting the food, or visiting a museum and being very animated to share the story, and every episode will be a different country. That to me ultimately would be the most amazing job in the world. So I'm putting that out there in the universe, and it is on my vision board. So the sky isn't even the limit. So it is possible. A lot of videos and photos, and I'm trying to build my social media primarily to kind of be a travel influencer. It takes a lot of time, but it's one of those things you got to just be patient on and just be consistent with it.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna come. So, what's one business book every entrepreneur should read or listen to?
Say Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbro. That was one that was handed to me at a very early age. But I would say now, whether you listen to books or podcasts, I follow a lot of podcasts, surprisingly, on conversations, how to have conversations with people, how to have difficult conversations with folks. As you know, I'm in the customer service industry, and oftentimes, usually every week, there can be a difficult conversation or a difficult email that you receive that you got to respond to. And I'm learning the importance of words, your response, your breath, going back to not what you say, but how you say it, listening, doing more listening than talking. And oftentimes people just want to be heard. Another quote that I live by is, the biggest issue in relationships, personal or professional, is how we talk to each other. So I think learning communication and how to talk to people and how to listen effectively, most of us think that we have it figured out, but we really don't. We really don't. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books on communication.
Okay, because tone matters.
It does.
You can say the same thing in a different tone.
Your breath, taking breaths. And also for me, who I do a lot of public speaking, it's important. So I talk fast. But again, as I jokingly tell people, but I live in the social media TikTok age where I got 30 seconds to do this video. So I got this amount of time to get this big time California investor that I have on the phone that can only talk to me for 2 minutes before they get ready to go into their 10th meeting of the day. So because of that, I am in a season in my life learning to slow down, breathe, and as my therapist said, silence is data. I spent so many years, Marcus, of trying to fill the silence. I'm learning now silence is data and silence is okay. Breathe. I'm a work in progress. We all are,
Yeah, we all are. Yeah, if somebody's a finished product, something wrong if they think they are.
Yeah.
All right, final question. If your grandfather could see the company today, what do you think he'll say?
You've done well. You've done well.
Now, William, I appreciate the transparency. Legacy businesses are not easy. Monetizing is not easy, and working with family is definitely not easy. But what I respect about this is you're honoring the past while building into the future. Now, if someone wants to connect with you and your team about the property store in Houston, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, thepropertystore.net. You can send me an email, william@thepropertystore.net. And I am available on socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, all that good jazz. So I would tell people, though, if you want to see my amazing travels around the world, definitely my Instagram, which is my name, William S. Matthews. And the business aspect, like today I was at a luncheon, yesterday I was at a luncheon. Those things are on LinkedIn. And just to get my political thoughts about everything that's going on in the world, entertainment and political wise, that will be on Twitter/X. But yeah, reach out to us. We're doing some amazing things. And again, it just feels really good to be able to continue the legacy, something that 20 years ago, kicking and screaming. It's funny how the universe works, and you do a complete 180 and come back to where you started. So it's kind of like you left the nest, you saw life, you saw the world, you learned so much, and now being able to take that back to be your own boss is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And again, I take it back to, it is Black History Month. So It's something that's very rare in our community, and being able to have that is something I do not take for granted, and I'm very appreciative and thankful. But I think it's also my duty to give back to the community and be very civic minded and help the next generation of young men and women, whether they want to be entrepreneurs, real estate developers, investors, or whatever, but do what I can, because my goal is if I can make the journey easier for someone else than it was for me, then I've done my job as a leader. So I'm very involved. I do have a nonprofit organization that is for men of color, high school students, and we help them, just give them the tools they need to be successful. Everything about giving them exposure and access to internships, to teaching them how to tie a tie and how to network and how to have a firm handshake. Things that you would think that would be taught in school, but it's not. Doing my part to make sure that the next generation is set up to be successful, and really just giving them access, because access is really all people need.
I appreciate you, William. Now, to everyone listening, if you're running a legacy business and trying to modernize without losing your identity, this episode is for you. We'll see you on the next episode of the Truvix Podcast.